Elena Voss believed love and partnership were the same thing. At 32, she had already built a reputation in Chicago's cutthroat advertising world as the quiet genius who could turn failing brands into gold. She never chased the spotlight. She created the light others stood in. That was how she met Ryan Caldwell. He was 35, charming, loud, and hungry. They met at a late-night pitch session for a dying retail chain. Elena had spent 3 weeks building the campaign, every slide, every insight, every emotional hook. Ryan walked in 15 minutes late, flashed his smile, and took over the room. When the client signed, Ryan took the credit. Elena didn't mind. She thought it was teamwork. 6 months later, they were married in a small ceremony overlooking Lake Michigan. Ryan insisted on combining their agencies into one brand, Caldwell and Voss. Elena's name came second, but she signed the papers anyway. "We're a team," he said, kissing her forehead. "Your brain, my face. Perfect." For 4 years, she believed him. She created the agency's flagship product, Echo, a loyalty algorithm so intuitive it felt psychic. It tripled retention for every client who used it. Awards followed, press followed, money followed. Ryan graced every magazine cover. Elena stayed in the background, perfecting the next version. The cracks appeared slowly. At industry dinners, Ryan introduced her as my brilliant wife who handles the details. Clients asked to speak directly to him. Investors wanted his vision, not her execution. Elena told herself it didn't matter. The work spoke for itself. Then came the night that broke her. The American Marketing Association Gala. Ryan was nominated for Innovator of the Year for Echo. Elena sat beside him in a black silk gown she had bought herself, holding his hand under the table. When his name was called, he walked to the stage alone. He took the microphone and said, "This award belongs to one person, me. I had the vision. I took the risk. I built Echo from nothing. Thank you for believing in my dream." The room applauded. Elena sat frozen. After the ceremony in the car, she whispered, "You didn't say my name." Ryan laughed lightly. "Elena, come on. Nobody wants to hear about the girl in the back room. They want the face, the story. You're the engine, I'm the driver. That's how it works." She stared out the window at the city lights. Something inside her cracked open, not with tears, but with cold clarity. The next morning, she found the divorce papers on the kitchen island. Ryan had already moved the Echo IP into a new holding company he controlled. He had changed the bank signatures. He had told the board Elena was emotionally unstable and stepping back for health reasons. He kept the penthouse, the cars, the clients, the reputation. She was given a single suitcase and a non-disclosure agreement. Elena signed nothing. She walked out of the building with only her laptop, her old college notebooks, and the knowledge that she had created everything he was famous for. That night, in a cheap motel room on the edge of the city, she opened a new document. She titled it, His End. Elena vanished. She cut her hair to a sharp bob, dyed it dark chestnut, changed her wardrobe to neutral blacks and grays, and moved to a small apartment in Pilsen under the name Elena Reyes, her mother's maiden name. No social media, no industry events, no trace. She lived on savings for 3 months while she rebuilt. She took freelance gigs under shell companies, small brands nobody cared about. She wrote white papers, audited campaigns, fixed broken funnels. Slowly, quietly, she earned a reputation among under-the-radar founders as the fixer who never asks for credit. By month 6, she had enough to rent a tiny office in Logan Square. She hired one person, Marisol, a 29-year-old data analyst who had been let go from a big agency after her boss took credit for her predictive model. They named the company Lumina. No flashy website, no press releases, just results. Elena made 3 rules. Every contract must give the creator ownership of their work. No client could claim sole credit for team ideas. Every employee got equity from day one. Lumina started small, local restaurants, indie fashion brands, nonprofits, but the results were undeniable. Retention rates doubled, revenue jumped. Word spread quietly among founders who were tired of being exploited. Meanwhile, Elena watched Ryan from a distance. His agency, now just Caldwell Creative, had become a machine. He hired young creatives, overworked them, took their ideas, and let them go when they burned out. He married the junior account executive who had replaced Elena. They bought a house in Lincoln Park. He started a podcast called Visionary. Every episode made Elena's blood run colder. She began collecting. She paid a private investigator $8,000 to dig quietly. The report came back thick. Ryan had used Elena's old Echo code as the base for 3 new products without licensing or credit. He had forged client signatures on expanded contracts. He had hidden revenue in offshore accounts to avoid taxes. He had pressured at least 5 former employees under signing NDAs under threat of bad references. Elena stored everything in 3 encrypted drives. She also started something else, a private network of women who had been erased by the industry. She called it the Invisible Collective. No public group, no website, just signal chats, late-night Zooms, shared Google Drives. They shared evidence, strategies, contacts. They healed. They planned. One night, Marisol asked, "When do we strike?" Elena looked at the wall where she had penned Ryan's magazine covers. "Soon," she said, "but not until he thinks he's untouchable." 2 years after the divorce, Elena was ready. She created an alias, Isabella Laurent, a Paris-based strategist returning to Chicago. The portfolio was flawless, curated from Lumina's best work, anonymized and rebranded. Ryan's agency was hiring a head of innovation. The salary was obscene. The title was prestigious. Elena applied. She walked into the interview wearing a cream silk blazer, hair sleek, voice calm with a faint French lilt she had practiced for months. Ryan sat on the panel and never blinked. "You're exactly what we need," he said after the final round. "Welcome to Caldwell Creative." On her first day, she received full access: Slack, Google Drive, client portals, financials. Ryan had grown careless. Arrogance does that. Within 3 weeks, she had mapped everything. She found emails admitting he had stolen Echo's core algorithm and rebranded it as Pulse. Slack messages threatening junior creatives with bad references if they spoke up. Wire transfers moving client retainers into his personal account. A folder labeled Old Voss Files, every original deck Elena had ever made. She downloaded it all. But she didn't stop there. She began mentoring the younger women on the team. She fixed campaigns Ryan had broken. She saved 2 accounts he had nearly lost. The staff started whispering, "Isabella is the real deal." Ryan noticed. He started calling her into his office more often. "You're different," he said one afternoon. "Most women here burn out. You just keep going." Elena looked at him with calm eyes. "Some of us learn how to keep going after someone tries to burn us down." He laughed, thinking it was banter. He had no idea he was speaking to the woman he had once thrown away. Elena waited until the annual agency retreat, a 3-day event at a luxury resort in Lake Geneva. Ryan was planning to unveil Pulse 2.0, the next version of her stolen algorithm, on the final night. She spent the weeks before quietly preparing. She hired a forensic accountant. She contacted 3 investigative journalists. She prepared a 14-minute video titled "The Man Behind the Myth." The night before the retreat, she sat alone in her apartment and watched the video one last time. It ended with her own voice. "My name is Elena Voss. I created Echo. I built the foundation of everything he claims as his own. And tonight, the industry finally knows." She closed her laptop. Tomorrow, she would walk into the lion's den wearing the skin of Isabella Laurent, and when the moment came, she would remove the mask. The retreat was held at a sprawling lakefront resort. Ryan had rented the entire main hall for the final night gala. Elena arrived as Isabella, cream suit, hair pinned back, voice soft with a practiced French accent. Ryan greeted her with his usual charm. "You're going to love the finale," he said. "Pulse 2.0 is going to change everything." Elena smiled. "I can't wait." Behind the scenes, she worked quietly. She had already infiltrated the AV team. A simple bribe to the technician gave her remote access to the presentation laptop. She spent the first 2 days blending in. She listened to Ryan's keynote rehearsals. She watched him rehearse the same speech. "I built this from nothing." Every word was a knife she would turn later. On the final night, the ballroom was packed. Clients, investors, press, the entire Chicago ad world. Ryan stood on stage in a black tuxedo, basking in the spotlight. Elena sat in the 3rd row, hands folded, face calm. Ryan began. "Tonight I unveil Pulse 2.0, the next evolution of my original vision." Elena opened her phone under the table, entered the override code. The screen behind Ryan went black. Then the video started. 14 minutes of truth. Side-by-side comparisons of Echo versus Pulse. Time-stamped emails, forged signatures, employee testimonies. The final frame, Elena's face, calm and clear. "My name is Elena Voss. I created Echo. I built the foundation of everything he claims as his own, and tonight the industry finally knows." The room froze, then erupted. Clients stood up, phones flashed, journalists rushed the stage. Ryan tried to laugh it off, technical glitch, but the video looped the final line on mute while the audio played her voice again. Elena stood slowly. The spotlight found her. She walked to the microphone. "My name is not Isabella Laurent. My name is Elena Voss. I co-founded this agency. I created Echo, and for 6 years Ryan Caldwell took my work, my name, and my life. Tonight I take them back." Security moved toward her. She raised a hand. "I'm already done." She walked out of the ballroom. Behind her, chaos. The ballroom lights felt suddenly too bright. Ryan stood frozen on stage, mouth half open, the golden trophy still clutched in his right hand like a useless prop. The 14-minute video looped silently behind him on the massive screen, Elena's calm face filling the frame one last time. "My name is Elena Voss. I created Echo. I built the foundation of everything he claims as his own." A low murmur rose through the crowd, then swelled into a wave. Phones came out in waves. Flashbulbs popped. Clients in the front rows stood up, faces hardening. One of them, the CMO of the retail chain that had made Echo famous, turned to his team and said loudly enough for half the room to hear, "We're done here." They walked out. 3 more followed in the next 60 seconds. Ryan tried to speak. This is a misunderstanding, a technical error. Someone's trying to sabotage." But the AV feed had already been overridden again. Elena's voice came through the speakers one final time, calm and clear. "Every slide you're seeing tonight is time-stamped. Every email is real. Every signature he forged has been verified by forensic accountants. The truth doesn't need a rebuttal." The room exploded. Security moved toward the stage. Ryan dropped the trophy. It clattered loudly. He looked wildly toward Elena, still standing in the third row in her emerald gown, hands folded, expression serene. For 1 second their eyes met. She gave him the smallest nod, the same nod she used to give him years ago when he pitched her ideas as his own. Then she turned and walked out. Outside the Art Institute, the November wind was sharp. Elena pulled her coat tighter and kept walking. Behind her, the gala dissolved into chaos. Within 90 minutes, the first headlines appeared. Caldwell Creative implodes at AMA Gala. Founder accused of theft, forgery. Wife he erased returns to destroy him in front of 800 people. By morning, the video had been downloaded and re-uploaded on every major marketing forum, Reddit, LinkedIn, X. The Illinois Attorney General's office issued a statement. They were opening a formal investigation into intellectual property theft, fraud, and financial misconduct. Ryan's phone didn't stop ringing. Clients canceled contracts before breakfast. The board called an emergency meeting. By noon, he was no longer CEO. He was on indefinite leave pending review. Elena didn't watch the news. She went home, made tea, and sat on her balcony overlooking the city. Her phone buzzed once, a text from Marisol at Lumina. "They're calling it the cleanest takedown in Chicago ad history. You okay?" Elena typed back 3 words, "I'm free." Then she turned her phone off. For the first time in 6 years, she slept through the night. The fallout was surgical. Monday morning, 3 of Ryan's top 5 clients had already sent termination letters. By Tuesday afternoon, 5 more followed. The agency's revenue, built almost entirely on Elena's Echo framework, evaporated in less than 72 hours. The stock, Caldwell Creative had gone public 14 months earlier, opened at $18.47. By close, it was $4.12. Wednesday, the SEC sent a formal notice of inquiry into possible securities fraud. Ryan had publicly claimed sole ownership of Echo in investor decks. Thursday, the IRS flagged suspicious transfers to offshore accounts. Friday, the board voted unanimously to remove him. He was escorted out of the River North office by security, the same security he had once bragged about hiring to keep the crazies away. He didn't fight it. He couldn't. The evidence Elena had seeded was everywhere. Court filings, press packets, anonymous drops to journalists. Every piece time-stamped, notarized, and cross-referenced. His wife filed for divorce the following Monday. She kept the Lincoln Park house and most of the liquid assets. The prenup he had insisted on, the one that protected him from Elena, now protected her. His mistress moved out of the Aspen condo the same week. She sold screenshots of their texts to a gossip site for 6 figures. By month's end, Ryan was living in a 1-bedroom rental in Schaumburg. He tried to call Elena 17 times. She never picked up. Instead, she focused on Lumina, now rebranded Voss Collective. She hired 6 more women who had been burned by the industry. She instituted a 4-day work week. She gave every employee 5% equity from day one. She refused to work with any client who wouldn't sign a creator-first clause. The agency grew quietly but explosively. Small wins became big ones. A regional bank campaign went viral. A sustainable fashion brand tripled sales after their Voss Collective rebrand. Word spread among founders who were tired of the old boys club. If you wanted real results and real ethics, you went to Elena. Ryan watched from afar. He tried to start a new agency, Vision Forge. It lasted 9 months before folding. No one would work for him. No one would invest. No one would return his calls. He took a junior consulting job at a small B2B firm in the suburbs. The pay was barely enough to cover rent. His LinkedIn went quiet. His podcast was deleted. One evening, he stood outside Voss Collective's new Logan Square office. The windows glowed warmly. People laughed inside. Elena walked past the glass, confident, calm, surrounded by a team that adored her. Ryan turned away. He never came back. 3 years after the gala, Elena stood on the same stage at the American Marketing Association Awards. She was nominated for Agency Leader of the Year. The ballroom looked almost identical. Same chandeliers, same faces, same anticipation. Only this time, the spotlight felt different. It felt earned. When her name was called, the room rose before she even reached the podium. She wore the same emerald gown she had worn the night she ended Ryan. She took the microphone and spoke quietly. 6 years ago, someone told me I was nothing without him. He took my work, my name, and my future. Tonight, I stand here to tell every woman in this room and every person who has ever been erased, you are not nothing. You are the idea. You are the execution. You are the vision. And the kindest revenge is not destruction. It's becoming the person they were terrified you would become. The ovation lasted 3 full minutes. Afterward, in the green room, a young strategist approached her, early 20s, nervous, eyes bright. I was at that gala 3 years ago, she said. I saw what you did. I went home and told myself I would never let anyone take credit for my work again. I started my own consultancy last year. It's small, but it's mine. Elena smiled. That's the real award, she said. Keep it yours. She walked out of the building alone, no entourage, no cameras, just the Chicago wind and the city lights. She had not spoken to Ryan in 3 years. She didn't need to. He had become a cautionary tale in every agency in the city. The man who once said she was nothing without him was now nothing without her silence. 4 years after the gala, a plain white envelope arrived at Voss Collective's office. No return address. Elena recognized the handwriting immediately. She opened it alone in her office after everyone had gone home. The letter was short. Elena, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I lost everything. The company, the house, the people who once respected me. But the worst part is knowing I did it to myself. I told myself I was protecting the brand. I told myself you didn't need the credit. I told myself a lot of lies. The truth is, I was afraid of you. You were better than me, smarter, kinder, more talented. And instead of celebrating that, I tried to erase it. I'm working a desk job now. I live alone. I don't have anyone to impress anymore. And every day I wake up remembering the night I stood on that stage and lied to 800 people. I'm sorry. Not because I got caught, because I hurt you. Ryan. Elena read it twice. She felt nothing. No rage, no pity, no triumph. Just quiet closure. She folded the letter, placed it in a drawer beside her original Echo deck, the one Ryan had once called Just Details. She never replied. She didn't need to. The silence was her final answer. 5 years after the gala, Voss Collective was no longer a boutique agency. It was a movement. They had offices in Chicago, New York, and Austin. They employed 87 people, 70% women, 40% people of color. Every contract included a creator rights clause. Every employee received equity. Every campaign carried the tagline, "Made by people, not egos." Elena refused to take solo awards. When she won Agency Leader of the Year again, she brought her entire team on stage. She spoke less and less publicly. She preferred mentoring. She started a scholarship fund for women in advertising, named after her mother, who had worked double shifts to send her to college. She never married again. She dated occasionally, kind men who respected her work and never asked to borrow her spotlight, but she was content alone. Her heart had grown large enough to hold her own life. She kept a single framed magazine cover in her office, the one from the night Ryan won Innovator of the Year. She had crossed out his name in black marker and written hers underneath in gold ink. No one ever asked her why. They already knew. 10 years after the gala, Elena stood on the roof of the Voss Collective headquarters, a restored historic building in the West Loop. The city glittered below. She was 44 now. Her hair was still dark chestnut, cut in the same sharp bob. Her green eyes still saw everything. She had come to watch the sunrise. In her hand was the original Echo Deck, the one she had created in her old apartment before Ryan, before the betrayal. She opened it to the first page. Her handwriting, her diagrams, her soul on paper. She smiled softly. Then she walked to the edge of the roof and let the pages go. They fluttered down like white birds, catching the first light of dawn. She didn't need them anymore. The work lived in the world now, in every ethical campaign, in every creator-first contract, in every young woman who refused to shrink. She had finished her revenge long ago, and in doing so, she had finished rebuilding herself. The city woke up below her. Elena Voss, once erased, now undeniable, stood alone in the sunrise, and for the first time in many years, she felt completely at peace.